There is Hope is a two-part series dedicated to the life and legacy of Zatara Zavard, as told by her fiance, Jeff. This is part 2 of There is Hope. Can you share a little bit about after Zatara had passed away, what was immediately on your mind and what the aftermath following her passing was for you?
Yeah. There was something else I was just going to say real quick about while you were talking.
Please.
Something about the seizures and fear and all that. She was also sometimes afraid that maybe she'd have a seizure at work, cutting someone's hair, but she never let that stop her. Like, she never let the epilepsy beat her as far as that. I'll bring that up more towards the end. That's a good closer. But she kept going, even though she was afraid. She kept going. So yeah. So like I said, over going towards the end of her life, over the years, I saw her have one, and I remember. So for me, and if no one's ever seen it, if people are listening and they've never seen it, it's not pleasant to see. I remember we were sitting there. It was Thanksgiving week, maybe Thanksgiving night or the night after, and we were just sitting there watching TV. And my parents were there, and Nathaniel was there. Nathaniel was probably within the first year of his life, and she just started making this noise. And I remember, I was like, "What are you doing?" I thought she was trying to scare him, do a monster sound. And my mother was the one that was like, "Oh, she's having a seizure." And I just remember, jumping right in and doing what, the videos I had seen to do. And it's not something pleasant, but it was definitely a learning experience for me to see that. And then also, I think it was I don't want to say good. I don't mean good. I think everyone would understand when I say I think it was good that I did get to see one, and I did get to really quickly understand, like, okay, she had this seizure. It took her roughly 20, 25 minutes or so to go from, completely being out of it to starting to, okay, where am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? What happened? And then a little bit more time to, okay, I had a seizure. Okay, I remember what I was doing. So I through that, I got the time limits of things, which was good. And so that she did have a seizure one time at my parents' house, and they called me, and I could talk them through it. And so over the years, I think she had, like I said, roughly four or five seizures a year. She ended up going to Dartmouth Hitchcock in Lebanon, and they kept her for a week, and she was all hooked up to the machines and everything. They were going to try to induce seizures so that they could try to figure out what was the cause and what could be done. Nothing happened that week, so she was always so disappointed. She's like, I can't. And she felt like a failure, and I was like, well, I mean, it's not your fault. She felt like a failure that she couldn't have a seizure, and they were talking about some brain surgery for her, scraping the scar tissue up and stuff. And of course, when you hear brain surgery, if you're the normal person, you're like, oh my God. And then these doctors are like, yeah, but you hear brain surgery. To us, it's brain surgery. It was in and out. I mean, they're so talented, those doctors there. And Zatara was actually for it. I kind of was like nervous about it, but I think Zatara was like, hey, I want to do this. I want to, hey, if this can end my seizures or whatever they can find out, I'm all for it. So she was more gung ho about it than I was. I kind of was like totally against it just because I was worried. I didn't want anything to happen. And, but it never got to that point because, like I said, unfortunately, August 1st, it's so weird. Everything was fine. And the night before, she had said, hey, take Nathaniel to your parents' house so he can go play with Isabella, which was my niece. And I remember saying, like, I just don't even really want to go this weekend. I just want to stay around the house and do nothing. She's like, oh no, you'd have so much fun. And I was like, oh, all right. Now, normally when we would set up these things, I would take him because I worked in Boston, but lived in New Hampshire. My parents lived about 15 minutes from my work. So instead of, to make it not, back and forth trips, I would take Nathaniel and go to my parents' house before work and drop him off. And that's how I pretty much always did it, because I just didn't want to do the trips, take the 2-3 trips. But this time I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to work and I'll come back again on Saturday morning. I don't feel like going tonight, and you have them tonight, watch movies or whatever. And I'll take them tomorrow morning. And so she was like, okay. And so I went to work. I came home and, everything was fine. And, she had to leave for work pretty much right away. And okay, love you too. Bye. All right. And she left. And then, so after she left, she called me probably maybe 10 minutes later. And she's like, you're still going to go, right? I said, oh yeah, I'll take them. And so she's like, okay, when do you think you'll be home? I said, oh, we'll be home. She had to work Saturday and Sunday. I didn't. And so I was like, we'll be home Sunday before you get out of work. And we had just started getting Nathaniel into Star Wars, and he wasn't quite into it. Well, he was, but he was too into it. And we kind of did it late at night. So we were like, okay, let's hold off on that. So we started getting him into 80s movies and stuff. And we were going to watch Never Ending Story that weekend. And he had just watched Gremlins before that and the Goonies before that. And I mean, he loved them. So I was like, okay, we got to watch the Never Ending Story. And he also watched The Dark Crystal too. Zatara hated that one. But anyway, and she got to watch The Labyrinth with him. Just naming these movies. So anyway, we were going to watch Never Ending Story, and I was like, we'll be home before you get out of work. And she sounded sad. And she's like, okay, all right, I love you. And I love you too. And that was it. That we hung up. And unbeknownst to me, that was the last time I ever spoke with her, because we went to my parents' house, and, that night was a little strange that she didn't call when she got out of work. And normally she would call to say goodnight, at least, if not, just to talk or text or whatever. And so I was just like, she's probably just tired maybe, and fell asleep. And then the morning came and she also didn't call, which also was like, wait, she didn't call and say good morning. And I didn't want to call her because I thought maybe she was always late. She was always late, like getting up at the last minute. And I'm like, okay, maybe she's just running late and she'll call from work. So at about 9:30, I got a phone call from her work. Hey, is Tara there? Oh, I'm in Boston. Oh, well, she didn't show up to work. I said, oh, okay, well, maybe she overslept because I'm not there. I said, I'll give her a call. You get back to work, to her friend Brooke. And so I called her phone and it was going right to voicemail. And I was like, okay, that's what it is. Her battery died overnight and she just fell asleep and they're sleeping. So I called my neighbor across the street and they said, yeah, her Jeep is there. And I said, oh, okay. So we called the police. Brooke called the police and did a wellness check. And I called the police at the same time to inform them. And they said, yeah, okay, we're here. The doors are locked. We'll be able to get in. I said, yeah, just head around the back. And I said, she probably just overslept, but she is epileptic. So then, 20 minutes passed and I said, okay, this isn't just oversleeping. She must have had a seizure, but I'm still thinking everything's fine. And they called me back 20 minutes later and, it's call, I'll never forget. They said, yep, we got in the house. And I was like, oh, okay. Is she all right? Or, was she sleeping? And they said she was deceased. And just, I just remember screaming, what? Like, what? And my mother was there. Oh my God. And, my dad came in, my son was outside, but, so he didn't see that part, but I mean, I'll never forget that. And, and then just looking at my son, crying and then thinking, how am I going to tell this kid his mom is gone? And, just not knowing what to do or say. And then, I made my, first I called her mother, which was, what do you say? I called up her mom and I said, I had called her mom previously, right before that, just to let her know. Because anytime Zatara would have a seizure, I'd always call her mom and let her know, hey, Zatara had a seizure, everything's okay. So I did call her beforehand, thinking that it was possible she had a seizure, saying, hey, just to let you know, we did call the police just to check because I'm an hour away, and I'll head down there if I have to and everything. And so I called her mom to tell her, and it was just kind of, again, like just the shock. Then I called Brooke at her work, and I remember her screaming. And then I called my cousin George and my uncle. My uncle is more like, they're both like brothers. So I called them and crying, and both of them came right over to my house. And it was just, again, like, because this is not normal. It's not like she was sick. She was fine. And then all of a sudden, these people are getting phone calls. Hey, Zatara is dead. And then, it's just like that's the thing that's so hard to take with this, is that it just not that, predetermined, like, if someone's got months to live, not that that's easy, but it's just the difference. And it's like, it just comes out of nowhere, and it's not real, and it still doesn't feel real. I mean, I can say for the first month, it didn't feel real at all. And so, and then that day, I'm a private person, but obviously people are going to find out. And, I called the 2 or 3 people closest to me, and they came over, and then my whole family, they all want to come over. And that's just how my family is. And my mother's like, do you want them to come over? Do you want to be alone? I said, no, I mean, if people want to come, they want to come, and I always took it as I didn't lose Zatara. We lost Zatara. And I've never kind of been like selfish when it comes to if people post about her or talk about her. I never had that jealousy because I love seeing it myself. So I just feel like, hey, I didn't, and I would say to people at the funeral, hey, I didn't lose her. We lost her. But yeah, and then that day was just, dealing with the police phone calls and the medical examiner, and, a couple things that were positive about that day, if you want to call it positive. I always try to put a positive spin on things, is we weren't there. Me and Nathaniel weren't there. Now, had this been a regular Saturday night and I chose to stay home, we would have been there. Nathaniel would have seen that. I would have seen that. And I did ask the medical examiner, because I think you want to know, hey, if I was there, was there anything I could do? And they told me no. I mean, when she had this seizure, they said her death would have only lasted as long as the seizure. She died from the seizure, not from anything afterwards, not from hitting her head, or pretty much when the seizure started. I mean, she wouldn't know. I mean, obviously when the seizure started, she was out of it. She wouldn't have known, and she wouldn't have obviously known she was going to die. So regardless of whatever, if I was there, it wouldn't have mattered. She was going to die on August 1st. I mean, it was fate. She was going to pass away that day, no matter what. And had we been there, we would have had to see that. I mean, hey, maybe if I was even going to work that night, Nathaniel would have been there all night with her like that, so I'm thankful for that. I'm also thankful we never had to go identify her or anything like that. The police took care of that. And in fact, they told me, hey, don't come, we can take care of it and just stay where you're at. And so that was tough. And then we ended up going home the next day, Monday. And it was tough because I know what I got in the car with me is my son, and we pull up to the driveway and there's her Jeep, and it's like, mommy's home, mommy. And I'm like, oh my God, and I didn't know what to say. Mommy's not home. For some reason I recorded it. I never played it for anyone, but I recorded it for myself. I don't know why, I just did. And never want anyone to hear how, I mean, he didn't know what was going on. I mean, I said mommy wasn't home and he was crying. So, I mean, it wasn't like, I just recorded it. I don't know. And we went in, and I mean, the way kids are, after 3 minutes, I gave him I had a Happy Meal. He was okay, but it just dealing with that week, you know, of what am I going to say to him? What am I going to say to him? And I guess maybe this could be a good part for people that hopefully, you know, sorry, but hopefully never have to go through this. It's like if he was 4 and I'm sitting there all week, like, what am I going to say to him? What am I going to say to him? And I talked to a couple pastors and a therapist and took what I liked from each one and kind of made it my own thing. And the thing is, like, you're sitting there overthinking. And I think when I said jealousy and closed-mindedness is a bad trait, overthinking is, I don't know if it's a trait, but overthinking is bad too, because you overthink things and it can be so much worse than what it actually is. And you know, I'm sitting there, what am I going to tell him? What am I going to tell him? And the truth is, like, it's like you're going to tell a 4-year-old this, and while you're telling him, or 10 seconds later, he's going to be like, oh, where's Mario, or where's Sonic? He's not really going to take to it. And but I did. So what I told him was that I didn't want to go with the heaven thing, because he didn't know what heaven. To him, dying was Sonic the Hedgehog died, but he's coming back to life. So I told him that Mummy was sick and Mummy had to go away, and she's gone, but I would touch his heart. She's right here, and she's always going to be right here. And every time I put his hand on his heart, and every time he would feel the heartbeat, I said, that's Mummy. And I know other people will talk about, like, oh, she's in the sky. I wanted something different for him. And I laugh because it's funny, because later on, like, the next week, he's arguing with my niece and she's saying, no, Ani Zatara is up in the sky. And no, she's in my heart. So, I mean, that's what I told him. And that seemed to bring him comfort. And, you know, one of the pastors, I'm so sorry, Pastor Ken and Pastor Bill, great guys. I don't go to their churches, but, you know, that didn't matter to them. Great guys. And Pastor Ken was from the New Life Church in Raymond, New Hampshire. He was gonna be at our wedding, and Pastor Bill, family friend of theirs, another great guy. I've been camping with him, and he did a funeral, and I just can't remember which one of them said it, but one of them said, you're going to say the right thing. No matter what you say, you're going to say whatever you say is going to be the right thing. You might not know now, but whatever comes out is going to be the right thing. And they were right. And I feel that they were right. And that's what's brought him the most comfort is just that Mummy, hey, she's right here in your heart. And with Nathaniel, for the first month, I didn't even try to talk about her. And then I noticed that about the 1 month mark, he kind of changed a little bit, his attitude and stuff. And then I started showing him pictures and playing videos and songs with Zatara in it. And that brought him comfort. So, and no one told me to. That was just something that I felt. So I think if anyone ever has to go through this, go by your own gut and your own mind, what you feel is right. I mean, people are going to give you your advice, and that's fine. And it's good to take everyone's advice, because the more you know, the better. And I just think that you know your kid better than anyone. You know your child, or whoever you might have to take care of someone else's child or whatever. You know them better than anyone. And that's how I felt. And, I had people say, you should do this, you should do that. It's like, you wouldn't say I didn't want to, but there were times I'd be like, I don't do that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing what I want to do. And I think that I've done pretty well with that. Not to say that I'm perfect, but I think I've done pretty well overall when it comes to Zatara and how I've handled it with Nathaniel. And I didn't take him to the funeral. I just didn't feel like it would have been right for him. He wouldn't have understood it. I just didn't feel right about taking him. And I know a few people wanted me to bring him. And I respect that decision. I just didn't feel like it was the right decision. And I stand by it. And I think it was the right decision not to bring him. I did have it. We can talk about a funeral in a minute, but I did have it recorded, like streamed on the internet, because I know people, because of COVID, couldn't make it. And but I also wanted to have it recorded so that he will be able to see it as he gets older. It's something that I do want him to see. So I think overall I've done good with that. I try not to force her down his throat. Keep her memory alive, but not. I don't try to make it unhealthy. I don't try to. Everything is mommy, mommy, mommy. I bring her up, or every now and then, we kiss her picture goodnight every night, and he says, "Good night, mommy. I love you. You're so beautiful." Or when the first like week or two after she passed, he would want us. We put a picture right by the bed, and he would either want to. He doesn't do this now, but he would talk to it, or he would dance with it or something. And now it's more like he just kind of kisses it goodnight and, okay, mommy, good night. I love you. Miss you. You're so beautiful. So I kind of want to have him slow it down a little, because now sometimes it feels a little routine, which that's what I don't want it to be. I don't want him to just have him feel like it's a checklist. But I was so worried about him understanding about Zatara passing. Again, overthinking. And there was a time where I think he understands a lot more than even I think, because the first time I really cried about her outside of the first hearing about her dying and stuff, the first time was maybe through, I don't know, 4 days later or so. And we were just sitting in the living room and I started crying. So I went in the bedroom because I didn't want him to see me cry, not for any macho reason. I just didn't want to have him upset. And so I was laying in the bed crying, and he came in the room and he was like, "What's wrong, Daddy? You sad?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Why are you sad? I said, "I miss mommy." He said, "Oh, okay, I'll go find her." And so I'm sitting there going, "Oh no." And he comes back with the picture of her and puts it in front of me and says, "Here she is." Because I told him, anytime you want to see mommy, go get the picture. And so it showed me that he understood what I told him. And so, I mean, he did that, and I just started laughing because it was so cute. And he's done a couple things like that over the time she's been gone. But he's such a special kid, and he's doing the best. He's getting through it as best he can. There's times where he'll talk about her a lot, and then there's times where you won't hear him talk about her. But a lot of times, mommy, he'll bring her up. I mean, if he's playing in the playground, he'll be talking to other kids. My mommy's in heaven. Or, we like to do a thing where he answers when telemarketers call. We give him the phone, and they'll be like, "Where's your daddy?" And he's like, "Oh, my daddy's at work." And, "Where's your mommy?" "Oh, mommy's in heaven." They just hang up. They don't know what to say. So he gets it. I don't, not fully, but I think that we're doing good. Her birthday passed. We released some balloons in the sky for her birthday. And he, this part's kind of cute. It's sad, but cute, but also smart. So he comes up with ways of how to get her out of heaven. And he'll be like, he'll just be sitting there and he'll be like, "I have an idea. We'll take a plane and we'll go up to heaven and get mommy." And it's like, I think he knows that he can't, but I think he's still trying to come up. I don't know, maybe it's comforting for him to try to think of those things. Like he said to me, "Well, I'll get on daddy's back and he'll take me to the moon and we'll go get mommy out of heaven." Or the other day he had his toys lined up and he had them talking to Batman. He said, "Batman, we'll take your jet to go get mommy." And he's understanding that, my parents were talking about COVID. I had COVID last February, and they were in the car the other day saying, "Oh, thank God, Jeff's okay." And Daniel was in the back seat. "No, Daddy's not all right." And they're like, "Yeah, he's all right." "No, Daddy cries because he misses mommy. He's not all right." So he anytime, and if he does see me, it's not that I cry. And I don't care about admitting I cry. I mean, but it's not that I cry all the time. He senses when I'm sad or depressed about Zatara, and I mean, he senses that. It's not just. I don't know. I can't explain it. He just knows. And so he's very, very smart, I think, when it comes to this. And I think he understands. He doesn't understand fully, but he understands it well enough and good enough for him. So yeah.
And after Zatara passed, I remember when we first met, you had shared how you tried to ensure that her funeral was really such a tribute to her life and to your love.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about the funeral and what you planned really to honor your beautiful love together in Zatara?
Yeah, the funeral, for me, her funeral is, people say, oh, my proudest thing I've ever done in my life is have my kids. I mean, that's a given, but like for me, her funeral, I can't have a more prouder moment of myself for myself. And everything I say here is not, I'm humble about it. It's not braggadocious or anything. I'm just very proud of myself that I could pull all this together and be strong enough to pull this together. But so the thing with Zatara was that we were going to be married September 6th originally. She passed August 1st. So that was 1 month roughly before we were going to get married. COVID, though, did change that, and it changed to May 29th of this year. But our original date was September 6th. And so when she passed, I called up all the wedding vendors, the venue, and all this stuff, and then, they were all nice. They all gave me money back, and actually, I think that plays into how, which we'll get into about how that kind of plays into how I got involved with the Epilepsy Foundation. But I'll get into that. But so, yeah, they all gave the money back, and that's, I don't want to say good, but luckily I didn't have to really. I just took that money and put it from the wedding to the funeral, which, I mean, it sucks, but it was good because I didn't have to go find the money, but it sucked too because, that's supposed to be money for other things. And I just, me and her brother, Tom, and her mother, Shauna, Mike, her stepdad, and her uncle, John, we went to the funeral home. And, there's times where families just, luckily we all got along, I mean, not that there's any issues at all anyway, but we everything just clicked. We all agreed. There was no really disagreements about anything. We all just wanted the best. Like, you want the best when it's a time like that. And, from picking of the casket to the prayer cards. I mean, it was not even difficult. Everything was simple. Like, okay, what do we want for the prayer card? Boom. This pic. We found pictures of, so many pictures of her on her phone after she passed. And I'm like, oh my God, look at how beautiful these pictures are. And so, they amazing pictures of her that she never even showed me. And so one that we found that she took shortly before she passed, and that was on her prayer card. And the back of the prayer card was a prayer that she had it was actually on our wedding ring box. And it was her prayer to me. And I have found the one for whom my soul loves. So I can't remember the number and all that stuff, but that's that. And she actually has that tattooed on her arm or forearm, in her forearm. And the casket was, beautiful. And, so with COVID, it kind of changed things where there's going to be, because I was like, oh, we can't have Ave Maria. She hated that song because there was an inside thing between me and her, because I would always pretend like, oh, this is going to be at my funeral. And so she hated that. But anyway, I was just, they didn't do the church. They just did the wake and then the funeral at the service at the cemetery. So with the wake, here's one thing that was amazing was I was like, talking to the funeral director and everything. I said, look, her hair's got to be immaculate, man. She was all about her hair. And I was like, I was like, so that was the one thing I was like, man, and she had just had her hair. Her hair was blue. She had done it up again, I'm a guy, I'm not a sky blue, but kind of greenish blue. And she was just about to change it back to red. And I remember just like, oh man, it's not going to be red, But so I didn't even know this. This wasn't my idea. I think it was her mom's idea. She said, let's see if Tyler and Brooke want to do her hair. And she didn't tell me that until afterwards. So they said, yeah, we're doing her hair. And this was after she, this is her in the casket. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And they were like, well, what do you think about it? I was like, I think it's amazing. I was just worried that it's so emotional for you guys, and I don't know how you're going to do that. And they did it. And I mean, they dyed her hair and had her makeup on and everything. I mean, it was amazing. So that was amazing right there. They both said the same thing. We got through it because, hey, this is the best thing we could do in our life right here. This is, we feel like we have to do this. So that was amazing. That's one of the big things I tell people. And that's when I say, like, I can't not look at these two people like they're my family. I mean, to do something like that, so they'll always have a special place in my heart. Living in Boston, I still go to Portsmouth to get my hair cut. So I travel an hour just so that they can cut my hair and I can visit them. Same thing, and bring Nathaniel too. And that's, people might say, why do you go an hour? It's not just to go for the haircut. It's to see them, and that's a bond that I'll never lose that, And so that was a big thing with her, with the funeral. I had her wearing her engagement ring, which she wanted it so bad. That wasn't. There's so many stories I could tell about Zatara, but the engagement thing was huge too. But she was wearing the engagement ring. We had her buried. I think this was my sister's idea. So I don't take credit for everything, just so you know. My sister, I think, was the one that said, hey, what do you think about putting her in her wedding shoes? Because I was like, okay, put her just in socks. I don't know, because I was like, she's got to have something, because she hated being barefoot. But I think my sister said, what about her wedding shoes? And I had never seen her wedding shoes up until that day. So until the day, I mean, not that day, but the day before, when I was bringing them to the funeral home. So that was pretty cool idea. And then we had a centerpiece from the wedding on display. And then, we did a private viewing. Her funeral was on a Saturday, but we did a private viewing Thursday for just immediate family and stuff. And I had brought the speaker, and then so I said my vows that night, and not pre-planned or anything. I just kind of went with it. I know a couple people audio recorded it. I don't have it, but I know a couple people that did audio record it. And then I just had this idea, and I said, I'm going to play the song that we had picked out. I remember when I told Zatara, this is what song I'm going to play for the mother-son song. And I played it. And I remember we were going to a thrift. This is funny because everyone knows me. We were going to a thrift store, and she was in the car crying because of the song. And so I'm like, you got to stop. We're going to go in the thrift store and you're crying, and everyone's going to think I'm some mean guy to you or something. So it was Boys to Men, the Mama song from Mama. And so I got on I got up in front of everyone and I said, I want to play the song, and I want my mother and her mother both to come up and dance with me. So we kind of all danced together, and that was pretty cool. So that was that night. And then the funeral came on Saturday, and so so many people showed up. And number one, it's COVID time, so to get people out of the house, and this was August, so this was really towards the height of it, and to get people out for that is number one. That's big. And just like, wow, she thought that no one would come. Like, not that we would talk all the time, but she thought no one cared about her. So, I mean, she thought that if she ever did pass, no one would ever come. And I was hearing people telling stories of how inspiring she was to them, and people I never even met. And so many people just coming up, like, talking about I used to know her way back then, or way back, and just there was a lot of people. And so when she loved her Jeep, so I brought her Jeep, and the Jeep was like, I drove the Jeep right behind the the flower car, and I just wanted a Jeep to be there. And then, Pastor Bill did the service and the eulogy, which was awesome. And then, a couple people got to go up and say some memories. A couple people told some good stories. And then I got to go up and give, they had me close it, because I didn't know what I was going to say, but I did tell Pastor Bill one thing I wanted to do. And he was like, yeah, you got to go last for that, because no one's going to be able to follow that. And so I went up and I gave about a 12-minute speech, and just, again, not pre-planned. I knew the bullet points I wanted to talk about: how we met, having Nathaniel, basically what we talked about here, her passion for hairdressing, and how we got engaged. I forgot to do the how we got engaged then too. So, but that's fun. So anyway, I go up and I give the speech, and then what I didn't tell anyone was I had brought the speaker again that I had bought, and I was like, okay, we knew what our wedding song was going to be. So I played our wedding song, and my sister was the maid of honor. So I called my sister up to dance with her. And then I also was calling up my cousins that were in the bridal party. And so I was dancing with each one for like, a minute or so to the wedding song. And then, it was such a nice thing. And, she was right, her casket was right there, and we would dance. And then there was another song I played. Our wedding song, by the way, if anyone was wondering, was John Legend, All of Me. And then there was another song I played right after that was by Aaron Lewis, Tangled Up in You, which I always said in my mind was my song for Zatara, but I never told her that, because my plan for that was always like halfway through the wedding that the DJ would play that song, and it would kind of be like a second bridegroom song, and she wouldn't even know. And then while we would be dancing, I would tell her, hey, this is my song for you. So I never did get to tell her that, but so I did play that one. And then all my guys, the groomsmen, we all came up and kind of huddled in a circle. And it's just it was such a special moment. And the things I said, again, just, and then afterwards I went back, oh yeah, I got one more story. And I told about the engagement, and just always trying to add some humor into it, but still telling everything emotional, but and staying strong through it all. I very good at, I was able to get through it all real strong. And I'm so proud of, like, to me, like, they always say, the funeral is a celebration of life, and you're not supposed to, you want to tell the good stories and stuff like that, but it's so hard at a funeral, even though you're so sad. And I just want to take that away, because I just felt like she deserved. She went out. She went out the way I would want to go out myself. Like, everything was about her, and it just got to tell her the stories that meant so much to her, and made people laugh with it. And I mean, it was just such a you don't say about a funeral much, but just such a beautiful service. People still tell me about it, like, man, that was so good. And again, I'm not saying it in a braggadocious way, because I take no credit for it. It was all about Zatara. And I love when people ask me about it, because I'll talk about the funeral to anyone, because it was just the way I wanted. I felt like she deserved to go out with the respect and admiration that I had for her, and I could have not done it any other way. And I tell people about it, and like strangers or people I meet, at work, customers, because they'll see me and go, oh, I used to see you leaving in the morning at night, and now you're working in the day. And I tell them, yeah, my fiance passed, and I had to switch my shift. And then I tell them about the funeral, and they're crying, or people tell me like, oh, my heart just, and I love that, because it just lets me know, hey, I did a good job for her. And that's what it's all. It's not about me. It's about her. And I succeeded in saying goodbye to her the best way possible. And I watched that funeral. Like I said, I had it recorded online and stuff. I watched it myself like 4 or 5 times after, and I watch it with a smile. I mean, I did cry one time, when I was feeling emotional, when my groomsmen and stuff, we came up and hugged, but I watch it with a smile. I talk about it with a smile. And I just think that if you can do that, then yeah, you nailed it. And that I can't, her funeral was very special.
Absolutely. So beautiful and touching, and an amazing tribute to your love together and to her as well. And, you, in talking about tributes, named this episode There Is Hope with a capital Z in honor of Zatara. And what does that title, There Is Hope, mean to you and mean to you in Zatara's story?
So I mean, with naming it that, for a couple of reasons. Number one, the is was IZ because her name was Zatara, and some people did joke around calling it Z. But I mean, there's two words that float around after she passed. One is bittersweet because everything is bittersweet. Like, oh, I did this today and it was fun, but bittersweet because she's not here. So that's one word that's always going to be there. And the other one is hope. And I just think that you can go two ways when someone passes. Neither way is the wrong way. I mean, everyone's got their own different ways of handling things. For me, I was more of a negative person my whole life, negative thinker, not really optimistic. And when she passed, I don't know, maybe because I had Nathaniel to take after and everything, and I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. I had to be on the ball with him and immediately get that ball rolling. Like I said, with the, maybe him being on the autism spectrum and stuff like that. And immediately was, and take that responsibility with her parent, with her mom and everything, not just me, but get that ball rolling with the funeral and make sure that was perfect. So all these things right away. And in the process, I got to take this time off of work now, and so I can take care of Nathaniel. And I work nights. That's all I know. I'm going to have to switch night shift to day shift, which I've done nights for 20 years. That's a complete different change. Okay, I live in New Hampshire. Now I got to sell my house because I don't. Her mom is an hour away. My family's an hour away. So what am I going to do? I'm going to sell my house and have to move back towards Boston, especially if I'm working in the daytime. So there's all these things that are, again, Nathaniel on the autism spectrum, all the testing and all this, taking that aspect of it that I knew nothing about and having to learn all about that, which I still am very at the beginning stages of that. But taking everything I knew as a parent and now having to basically restart in a way. And she was more like going back to with Nathaniel, she was more of the hands-on as far as like that type of thing. And so I had to now jump in on that. And so what I was saying was there's two ways I could have went. I could have just not doing anything, depressed. And again, not saying that anyone that goes that way, you're going to do what you're going to do. I couldn't do that. And it's funny in a way because I've become a completely different person since Zatara passed, and like 100% for the better. And I can't say the word regret because I would have never made the changes that I've made. I would have never switched my shifts or anything. So I would have never made that change. So I can't say I regret not doing any of this, but I can say I wish that I could have given her this version of me. But it's, what, she saw this in me. She knew that I could do this. I just wasn't able to do it, I guess, until I had to. I wasn't going to change until, I guess that's the type of person I am too. Like with a lot of things, like I'm a procrastinator. So, okay, well now I have to change. And saying that there is hope, it's like, there's hope for so many things. Number one, speaking of me, as I was just saying, there is hope. I mean, yes, I was devastated when she passed. Still am, always will be. My family will be. There's countless people that have tattoos with her name on it already. And I mean, I haven't done that yet. That's coming. But I mean, the mark she left on people is is almost baffling to me. Like, wow, I didn't even. But you're not going to realize that when it's right in front of you. You're more going to realize that afterwards. And I know people will make bigger things of it when someone passes, but I don't feel like that was Zatara. I think like everything is heartfelt and true. So there is hope for me moving forward. You know, right now in my life where I'm at is such a good place. You know, it sounds weird hearing that and saying that even for myself. Like, I mean, it's all, yes, it's a good place. Obviously, not, Zatara's gone. And that's such a huge loss, the biggest loss I could ever imagine. But outside of that, everything else, I love I never thought I would like day shift. She always said, you will. And I always said, no, I don't want to work in the day. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to deal with other employees. And I don't want to deal with traffic. It turns out the traffic wasn't, well, again, COVID. So traffic's not that bad at the moment. But it turns out that the two biggest deterrents for me, which I thought were going to be the customers and the daytime employees, are not bad at all. The customers are actually more enjoyable. I have built relationships now with people. I've only been working days since January 4th. She died August 1st. I took leave of absence and went back January 4th. So since January 4th, I already got people that come in, and like there's probably a good 6 or 7 people I see, if not daily, every other day. And so she knew that I had this stuff in me, and I just didn't see it in me, but she knew. So there is hope. I mean, I think like my life, like I said, I mean, switching shifts was a major thing. Going forward, like I'm much more energetic now. I don't want to come home and go right to bed. My schedule is not messed up. I get to see my son more, even though I saw him all day, but I would be asleep or always grumpy and tired. I don't feel that weight, that negativity, that miserableness. Like I wake up for work, I'm ready to just go. Like people at work have said, like, man, you're always smiling. You're always happy. Yeah, because number one, you don't know what it was like. I mean, working nights, I did like, don't get me wrong. I mean, but you're in that rut. You don't realize what you're missing. And it was normal to me. And now I look at it and go, man, I would never do nights again, even if I could. And I'm not knocking anyone that is or anything. It just, you know what, I mean, maybe it's good for single people, but now that I'm, I just wish I do wish I would have switched sooner, but it just wasn't in the cards. And just, I don't want to just come home, eat, go to bed. I find myself wanting to go out, take Nathaniel out. And I just feel like more motivated and it all, that shift was a big thing. And being back around family now and as opposed to being in the middle of nowhere, just so many good things. And with Nathaniel and the autism and all that, that's still early in the process of all that. He's finally at school and everything down here. He loves it. I mean, he's flourishing. He's making friends now, which he didn't have up there really. And he's so smart. And where he was behind, you can see that he's moving forward. And and I'm getting that. I'll be getting the help that. And again, the autism thing is still early in the work, so that's stuff we still got to deal with. But so there's just, for me, there's hope. I think life, could have very well been over, not over, but just really could have seen nothing to move forward for. And it's the opposite. In a way, it's like I have to do this, not only for me. I mean, for me, yes. It's like I have to do this for her, and I don't want to again use the cliche because again, as I said earlier, when you're in this situation, it's truth that you do get tired of hearing. Well, she would want you to, and it's true, but you just do get tired of hearing it. And but it is true. She wouldn't want me to have just been laying in bed all day. She would want me to be taking him out and playing games and going for walks. She would have wanted me to switch my shift and do everything I could. She would have wanted all this. And so for me, that's hope. And for Nathaniel, that's hope. But I think that also is hope. It's more for people with epilepsy and people also that are dealing with maybe people that they've lost through SUDEP. There's hope for you out there. You just can't, just people that have lost people with epilepsy, we are also epilepsy warriors. That was a term I didn't like when I first saw it. After she passed, I was looking up different shirts and stuff to see if I wanted to buy any. And one term I didn't like was epilepsy warrior. I just didn't like it. But I'd say it took me maybe a couple weeks and it grew on me because I didn't like it because I didn't understand it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what, this is really good because it goes back to what I was saying about she had epilepsy. She didn't let that stop her from her style, hairdressing. And, she now passed and I can't let that stop me from moving forward in my life. So no, I might not have epilepsy, but it doesn't matter. I still feel the brunt of that. People that don't have epilepsy, we're there. I mean, these are all the shirts you see, but they're true. Their fight is our fight. You're there with them. We're there suffering that pain. We see them having the seizure, and that's so hard to watch. And you're there, right there with them having that. So, I mean, with the there is hope. There's like, don't do what you want to do. Don't let epilepsy beat you. You have to beat it. And, it's just keep doing what you're doing. And, so just it's a mindset. And I think you can't let your mind beat you either. That's what I was saying earlier about overthinking. It's a mindset. And if you keep that positive, I'm a great person to speak on that because I was such a negative person. And now people say to me, man, you have so much to complain about, or I can't believe how you get through this. And again, I'm not braggadocious about myself at all because I don't think about it though. It's like I'm living my life right now because it's the way I choose to live it because I feel like I have to, but it's a choice. And, people say you're so inspiring because you have every reason to sit there and not want to do anything. And you've never complained about it. I've never complained about Zatara passing. I mean, yeah, obviously it sucks, but I've never, I'd love to sit there and throw a temper tantrum, bring her back, and finally, like whoever, here she is. But that's not going to accomplish anything. So instead, take that negative and, another cliche, take that negative and turn it into a positive. And it's worked for me. I mean, I would hope that other people could do that, and I hope it works for them also. It's just, I'm hopeful, and there is hope. Obviously, we all hope that epilepsy, we never have to hear about epilepsy, that it goes away. It's just, it's a sucky thing, and just hope that. I hope that's you just. I don't know. I just hope that hope is a big word, and I think anyone that has epilepsy or anyone that knows anyone with epilepsy or past, you understand. I think they understand hope, the word hope, and what it represents.
Definitely. And, in this vein about raising awareness about epilepsy, can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved really in your mission of raising awareness about epilepsy and SUDEP and how you became involved with the Epilepsy Foundation as well?
Yeah. So I'm an honest person. I really knew nothing, pretty much, like I said earlier, about epilepsy other than, you shake. That's what I knew about it. You have seizures. I didn't know what happens when they have the seizures, what happens mentally. Zatara was always worried about, she would cry about losing her memory and things like that. You just never know about this stuff. I was an ignorant person and I didn't take the time or, didn't know anything really about it. And so I knew what the Epilepsy Foundation was. I had heard the name, but I didn't know anything about them at all. So going back, like I said, when I contacted all the wedding vendors, the woman that made the cakes, I'm sorry if I'm Chickadee Hill Cakes, I think. She deserves the shout out there because I think it was Chickadee Hill Cakes. I'm sorry if it's the wrong one, but I know Chickadee. So anyway, she said, we only given her a $50 deposit. And she said, hey, do you mind if I donate it into Tara's name? And I said, sure. Why don't you, if you're going to, I don't know if you have a place in mind, but that's when I said, how about the Epilepsy Foundation? Because that's what she passed from, a seizure. And so she did. And I think my father had also made a donation into Tara's name. So I think it would have probably been about within the week or so after she passed that I got an email first. And it was, basically, explaining who it was, the Epilepsy Foundation, and, I'd like to talk on the phone. And so I was sitting there like, how do they, okay. I was wondering how do they know? How do they know how to get a hold of me? So in talking, I did ask that question, and I said, we got a couple donations in her name. And usually when that happens, we know it's a death. And so we contacted the funeral home, and the funeral home gave us your info. And so I started talking with them. And, at first I was kind of skeptical, like, okay, what do they want? Are they trying to get money from me? Or I had no idea. So I'm like, are they trying to, what's going on here? But no, nothing like that. They were just wanted to talk, see how I was doing. They wanted to learn about Zatara. Again, they asked me kind of my story with her, and then told them, about Nathaniel. And then they said, hey, we want to see if we can give you some financial aid. I didn't ask for it. They offered it. And, at first I was like, oh, no, that's okay. Being a guy, I'll take care of it, but no, they like, no, we want to help you. We want to help you. We want to help take that stress off you. And, so you don't have to worry, you can grieve and not have to worry about money, and so something I've learned since she's passed is to accept help and let people help, because not just because you might, be honest, everyone could use the money, but not just for yourself, but letting people help. That's good for people too. People want to help and they want to feel good about themselves. And so I've learned to do that. So I'll fill out the paper for the financial aid. And the big thing about that is that, again, they offered it. I never asked for it. And I don't have epilepsy. Nathaniel doesn't have epilepsy. So here they are. Oh, take this money from the Epilepsy Foundation for people that don't have epilepsy. But Zatara did. And they could easily say, okay, like if it was a club, okay, well, she's a member of the club and she's gone. So, okay, let's cancel the membership. Well, it's the opposite. Her leaving the club brought me into the club, and so to speak, I guess. And that's where my relationship with them started. And, they did give me some financial aid. And then I got, messages from people, and then talking to people and Susan, and, and then they were having the gala, which they normally have, but COVID kind of changed that around, and we got to do it at a studio. And I got there, went to go and speak, started. That's where I really started to really raise some awareness and speak of, how they helped me with the financial aid. And so I've done like 2 speaking events for them. And it's for someone that had, and I say it straight up, hey, I had no idea what this was, however many months ago. And now it's like, I didn't know what it was at all in my life. And now it's a part of my life, like one of the biggest things in my life. It's something that will always be a part of my life. And I didn't understand. I know about charity and everything, but I didn't understand fully. Like, I would think, like, I had always heard about, like, if you donate money to such and such a charity, maybe that money doesn't even go to the charity. It goes to employees or this or that. And so you're skeptical about donating money. And for me, I know firsthand, like, hey, money went to me. This this is money that came from the Epilepsy Foundation that came to me. I know this money is not even just going towards cures or research. It's going towards families that are suffering, or don't even, the person that has epilepsy is not even in it anymore. And that speaks a lot, I think, for the Epilepsy Foundation, and just the fact they still, I still get emails every now and then, or, friends with people on Facebook. And, they did another great thing. They had me get in contact with another guy, Matt, and he had been through something very similar 4 years previous. I mean, the similarities are, it's almost like the same situation, other than they didn't have children. His fiance passed right before their wedding. Same thing, SUDEP. And I mean, we talked on the phone, and we met up and everything. And, I've had a lot going on, so I haven't been in touch with him as much lately, but I mean, now I'm back here in Massachusetts. So, we've been talking more, and we're going to meet up again, and great guy. And, I have questions with him and answers from him, and talks I can have with him that I can't have with anyone in my family. Because yes, they all mean well, but no one in my family's been through this. No one knows. So many times you hear, like, I just don't know what to say to you. And in all honesty, I appreciate that answer, because, I just say back to him, hey, I understand. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, but with him, he's been through the exact situation, and I wouldn't have had that. I would have never had that without the Epilepsy Foundation introducing us. And I didn't ask for that. They said, hey, we have someone that we think, and it's amazing. It's almost like they knew right on from the story that I told them. They knew right away. Oh, I know a guy that you can talk to. So it wasn't even like they had to think about it. They knew. So another thing for me is I've learned that the people in the Epilepsy Foundation, they have a vested interest, because I'm not sure, from the people I've met, they all have people that have either epilepsy in their families or have also passed from epilepsy. So you have people that this touches them. It's not a job to them. It's heartfelt. And that's why, I try to raise awareness as much as I can. And, and it for me, it's worked, because I noticed, and it's not just me, it's Zatara too, because people will say, I'll see on people's Facebooks, their birthdays, they'll put, I'm raising money for the Epilepsy Foundation. And anytime I see that, I'm like, okay, we're doing it. Zatara, I don't say me, but like, okay, Zatara's doing it. This is, this is all for her and all about her and everyone else that's suffering from epilepsy. It's a huge thing for me. And I'm every time, like when I was told about the podcast, I was so excited. And every time they asked me to come and speak, and just, if it's a 2 or 3 minute spot, just to raise awareness, talk about the financial aid program or whatever. Cause that's all I can't talk about doctors or this or that. I can talk about how they've helped me though. And I'm always like, oh yeah. In fact, I hope every time there's that word again, hope. I hope every time they ask me, because I love it. I love talking about Zatara. I love talking about the Epilepsy Foundation, and it's a great thing. And I hope people do research on it and look it up if you don't know anything about it. I mean, I have myself, so it's purple. It's funny. Purple was Zatara's favorite color, but purple has become such a huge color for not only me, but my entire family. So, it's a big thing. The Epilepsy Foundation is a big thing in my family.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and for all of your work to raise awareness about epilepsy. And it's really Voices podcast, sharing Zatara's life and your love together, and really everything that you do to raise awareness about epilepsy and to keep her memory alive and strong. And on that note, you had shared, I wrote down from our first meeting, kind of the 3 tenets of your life mission, which are raising Nathaniel, raising awareness about epilepsy, and keeping her memory alive and strong. And I remember you shared a podcast idea with me, and would you be comfortable sharing that, what you're thinking with that, and what you plan to do with that?
Yeah. So, I listen to podcasts all the time, so many different podcasts. So, um, so when I heard the Epilepsy Foundation had a podcast, I was like, oh, podcast. Oh man. And I've never been on one. And, so when I heard podcast, like I said, my ears were ringing, and then it was just right. It was right before we talked, and I was on my way home, and I was like, I was thinking maybe, it's kind of, like I said, I'm a very private person, but since she passed, I kind of had to adapt in a way and become an open person. And then I actually think it's more me than being the closed person. I think it's more good for me to be open, and it's more of who I am. And it's been therapeutic. I was always a private person on Facebook, but since she's passed, every morning, I don't tag her, or, I'm not a person to say like talk to her on Facebook, but I do post something every morning, like whether it be a picture, something to do with the color purple, or a heart, or the sunflowers. She loves sunflowers, or, an epilepsy ribbon, or something of that sort. I post one every morning, and that's just no words or anything, just good. That's my post for her. It's a good morning. Everyone that knows me knows that by now. And some people do come in and they say good morning back to me. I don't have to say anything because they know I'm seeing it. And it's kind of, everyone looks for that in a way. And, a lot of people post about her, but for me, that's what I do. And it's kind of been therapeutic in a way. Like I have posted some things about her, and it's kind of been therapeutic. So talking about her is very therapeutic. And I was thinking, like I said, that day we talked about possibly, probably in the next like month or two, because I have to kind of learn how to do it. But I think I'm thinking of starting the podcast, and it would just be something for anyone that, again, the people that are listening to this, or basically my own family and friends. Nothing, nothing major, but I was thinking of doing a small podcast, and it would be a weekly 31-minute podcast, 31 minutes representing each year of her life. She was 31 when she passed. And, each week I would either, tell a story about her, or have a guest on. And, if they were on the first time, it would be their introduction of who they are and maybe how they met Satara. Or, it could delve into things like fears, like I have, this fears I have, or, things about, after she passed, just dealing with everyday life, maybe what I did, what I did about this situation, that situation, but kind of along the lines of that. And I don't know. So I'm thinking about that. And I think that would be something cool to do.
I would certainly love to listen. We certainly have a listener in me, and so many members of our community and people listening to the Epilepsy Voices podcast and beyond. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jeff, and for sharing Satara's story, and really just for being here to share this. It truly means so much, and I hope that there's the word again.
Yeah, right.
And I hope that it brings justice to what a beautiful light and soul she is.
Yeah, I'm so glad, so glad you guys asked me to do it. And I asked Susan, hey, is there ever any chance I could ever, I don't know who to speak to, but about speaking about her, because like I said, I mean, she's a special person. She was a special person, is a special person, and it's something that she totally deserves. And like, as you said, one of my main goals is not just keeping her memory alive and strong, but don't keep her memory alive, have it thrive. And I don't know, I guess the best way for me to end it is just to tell everyone, remember, there is hope.